When Big Mom was first mentioned, she was originally introduced as one of the greatest pirates of this current era, being a pirate considered to be on the same level as Whitebeard, being one of the original 4 emperors of the sea. But with where we are right now in the massive 25, and currently being on Elbaf, many hold Big Mom to a lower level of power than where she realistically scales. So for this video, I want to break down some of Big Mom's feats and her narrative portrayal to show you guys where I think Big Mom should realistically scale in the verse. And I'll also be debunking her anti-feats, as they shouldn't be anything to go against her scaling. Oh, and if you're new to the channel and want to see more One Piece content from myself, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Being one of the Yonko, and how that title compares to the likes of Whitebeard, Shanks, Kaido, and Blackbeard is always going to give people high expectations, and I also think that the community is very split on if the original Yonko that we see in pre-time skip are all relative or not. That's not specifically a topic I'm going to go into today, but I'm mentioning this because regardless, I do think there is a specific rivalry among 2 of those Yonko, that being Big Mom and Kaido. Before I go into it, since I know some of you may be like, how is Big Mom a Kaido rival at full power when he fought her in base? But Big Mom was in base as well, and I think this is something that a lot of people don't really understand that well, as Big Mom has a thing of fusing with her homies and directly getting a power up from this process, which we see her most notably doing against Lawn Kid. And before you just look at the panel and say how the amp may just come from the increase in her size, she directly says how she needs to use a year of her own lifespan in order to do this process, as if she uses anything less, the power up won't make a difference compared to her base. And it's directly said to strengthen her. Also, Big Mom using souls to make herself stronger is something we've seen before way back in pre-time skip with Gecko Moria. In comparison to Big Mom's soul fruit, Moria has the shadow fruit, where we see Moria be able to manipulate people's shadows, which is consistently said throughout the arc to be a person's soul. It's just your shadow serves as someone's second soul, which is why even though we see people like Luffy and Brook having one taken, they still are fine and not harmed despite losing a soul. And we see in this arc that because Moria absorbed 1,000 shadows, he ends up surpassing Oars. Now that this is addressed, I want to go into her rivalry with Kaido, which we know is something that's been a thing for many years, which Sengoku acknowledges. And we see Oda expressing Kaido and Big Mom being close with many statements, as it is something regarded by many in the present day. During the Onigashima raid, we see Big Mom display a bit of her power as she attacks Luffy, and in response to this, we see a group of the Beast Pirates talk about the stories of Big Mom's past. And it's during this conversation that we see one of the Beast Pirates mention how, based on what's said about her, she is a pirate who's every bit as fearsome as Kaido. This is a statement that many people have just ignored, but I think is the perfect way to show you guys just exactly what I mean. When Big Mom pulls up to Wano as an enemy, despite Kaido telling her that if she ever stepped foot on his territory, he will kill her, which was just not a threat to her, as she herself says, what kind of idiot shows up to get killed? And also, Kaido directly tries to stop her and her crew from coming, as according to Kaido, once they step foot on the land, it'll be an all-out war between the Beast and Big Mom pirate crews. And I know I said I'm not going to go into whether or not all the pre-time skip Yonko are relative to each other or not, but this is why the Ace novel specifically says why the Yonko do not fight each other, and based on this panel, we're not even talking about the Big Mom pirates at full power, as Katakuri, her strongest commander, is not even there, and neither are people like Cracker and Oven, which is important, as if Kaido was so much above Big Mom to where she only has scaling to his base, which we addressed earlier, then at full power, Kaido would surely end the battle against Big Mom pretty quickly. And as we see from the story itself, that when Big Mom and Kaido go down, that is enough to convince the soldiers on their side to stop all the fighting. Speaking of this war, Big Mom goes from fighting Kaido and even beating on one of Kaido's top commanders to standing side by side with Kaido as they form an alliance. Now, this is very important, as Oda consistently draws Kaido and Big Mom whenever they fight against the Supernova as standing next to each other, which is consistently done with Luffy, Law, and Kid throughout Wano, and even done way back in Sabaody, and we know that this is a way of showing showing the rivalry, and more importantly, showing how comparable the three of them are to each other, as Kaido talks about them while lined up in this fashion as well, and we also see Oda express this through their dialogue as well between each other. It's also very clearly shown that even though Kaido and Big Mom are enemies, Kaido has many different feelings for Big Mom, and one of them clearly has to be a level of respect. As think about it, we have two captains of two rivaling crews that both are chasing after the One Piece, but Kaido is willing to take in Big Mom, who's alone at the time, as they thought the crewmates she brought to Wano were all gone, and form an alliance with her, which by the way is a partnership very different from the relationship and dynamics that they each have in their own respected crews, as Kaido and Big Mom are both clearly their crew superiors, like Kaido being above King, Queen, and Jack, and Big Mom being above Katakuri, Cracker, Smoothie, Oven, and Perospero. But also, not only does Big Mom stand side by side with Kaido in battle, as they show off their combined power, which is also shown and mentioned, Kaido and Big Mom after fighting, which according to the Gorosei, a fight between them would be one that could lead to either one of them being straight up killed, decides it's better to team up and find the One Piece together right now, rather than just fight it out right now and knock the other off the board, as they are trying to do that right now and they clearly just aren't getting anywhere. Think about it from both of their perspectives. They're going up against another Yonko who also is guarding one of the poneglyphs to find the One Piece, making them both massive players in this race, and instead of taking the other out and trying to take over the other's territory, which gives you half of the poneglyphs you need to find the One Piece, they decide to join forces, and once they have found Laugh Tale and proven that they're the two strongest in the world, and it's only then that they're going to settle who truly is the strongest and who will claim the One Piece. And we see from someone like Kaido, who has no tolerance over his own people showing any form of insubordination, and that's literally why he has spent all of his time fighting and trying to kill Yamato, his own child. Based off what we've seen from Kaido, we just know that Kaido's not willing to work with someone or accept someone on his level or above him if it's not absolutely necessary, which you see for example when he talks about Roger, how like he's willing to acknowledge Roger as someone that transcended all, and you clearly see the level of respect that he has for someone like Odin. I think that based on all of this, Kaido and Big Mom clearly need to be comparable to each other in terms of strength, and I think Oda makes this very clear. And also this alone proves that Big Mom should at least be above base Kaido, as if we're to say all of this, it's clear that Kaido would try and take her out, especially when his two forms are a lot faster to use compared to what Big Mom did against Lawn Kid. And we also see Kaido using these forms against people way weaker than Big Mom, such as the Scabbards, the Supernova at that point in time, and Yamato. So to say that Kaido was pushed past his base in a battle against another Yonko is pretty obvious. And I think this is also consistent as we see base Big Mom match Hybrid Kaido when they did their combined attack, and we see that overall the Supernova clearly are threats for Kaido to go beyond base, but not for Big Mom. And yes, I know Kaido is not using his full power on them, but the point is neither is Big Mom. Now the only thing left I want to address is her fight with Lawn Kid, because that is the last bit of contentions that I think anyone would have left over Big Mom scaling. And I think the best way to address this is to mention how Big Mom just isn't going full power on them. I know what you're thinking, how it stated she was going full power, and yes, that's stated in some random magazine, but the problem I have with that is Big Mom just proceeds to not use advanced hockey. If you look at all the attacks that Big Mom uses in the fight, none of the attacks have any detail that's resembling that lightning zap sound effect we see on panel and the hockey leak aspect of ACOG on Lar Kid. Even though it's stated, a statement can be proven wrong if there is justifiable reasoning to think otherwise. And when we look at the attacks that she uses and see these lack of details that are always shown with ACOG, I think it would be enough to support Big Mom not using her full power. You could say this happens for a lot of reasons, such as how stupid Big Mom is shown to be on screen. Or maybe you think Oda was trying to nerf Big Mom so that way Lawn Kid can defeat her. But regardless of what directly happens in the fight, she never goes the length she does against someone she respects, like Kaido, or when Otama is threatened by Ulti in page 1 to actually use advanced hockey. So to end off this video, I think there is a consistency in the story that Big Mom and Kaido are actually comparable, and that when you look into the anti-feats people use to try and bring down Big Mom, like her performance against Lawn Kid, there's levels of context we see to show how she isn't even going all out out in that battle, which is not something that we can use to show where she scales. If you'd like to see more One Piece content from myself, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more content.